Lila Bennett walked down the hallway like she owned it, and in many ways she did. Her honey-brown waves were perfectly undone, her jeans strategically ripped, and her confidence carried like perfume. People moved when she passed, not out of fear, but admiration. She smiled like she wasn't trying, eyes scanning, chin slightly tilted up. Posters from last year's prom still hung in the trophy case, her crown in the center, her name etched in cursive on the frame. Prom Queen 2023, Lila B. It was surreal how easily people still mentioned it, like royalty wasn't just symbolic. "That's her," whispered a freshman girl. "She's even prettier in real life." But none of them knew what it felt like to stare at an admissions portal and see nothing but pending. None of them knew that, under her perfect brows and radiant glow, she was drowning in D's and incomplete assignments. Being adored didn't raise your GPA, and it sure didn't pay for college. She walked past her calculus classroom, avoiding the teacher's eye. She already knew the lecture she'd get. "You have potential, Lila, but potential doesn't solve integrals, and it won't get you into Northwestern." Her fingers gripped the strap of her designer bag just a little tighter. At lunch, she sat with the usual group, athletes, cheerleaders, kids who treated social media like currency. They were laughing about the upcoming senior beach trip, arguing over who would rent the biggest house. Lila laughed too, but her mind was stuck on numbers, red circles on return tests, deadlines. Across the quad, Elliot Grayson sat alone under a tree, reading. He wore an oversized hoodie and jeans that had definitely never seen a stylist. His hair was messy in a way that wasn't cool yet, and thick glasses slid down his nose. He looked like someone who didn't even know there was a social hierarchy, but Lila knew his name because the teachers did. He had the highest GPA in their class, maybe the whole school. Rumor was he already had early acceptance letters, honors math, science competitions, the kind of kid who probably played Dungeons and Dragons instead of going to parties. She watched him for a moment too long, stirring her iced coffee without tasting it. "What are you staring at?" asked Madison, her best friend and the reigning queen of passive aggression. Lila blinked. No one, just thinking. But Madison had already followed her gaze. "Elliot Grayson?" Madison snorted, nearly choking on her cucumber water. "Oh my God, please tell me you're not thinking what I think you're thinking." Lila tilted her head, feigning confusion. "What do you mean?" Madison grinned. "You and the nerd of the decade? That's rich." "I just meant he's smart," Lila said, trying to sound casual. "Maybe he could help me, tutoring." Madison raised a brow. "Girl, you'd combust if you sat next to someone who uses a backpack with patches on it." Lila laughed, but something in her voice was hollow. After lunch, Lila skipped her last period and went to the library instead. She sat in the back, headphones in, pretending to scroll through music, but her eyes drifted again, to the table near the window. Elliot sat there, surrounded by notebooks, a mechanical pencil dancing between his fingers. He looked so serious, like the world was a code he was halfway to cracking. She wondered what it was like to understand things just by reading them, to not have to fake it, to not stay up all night rewriting essays and hoping spell check would save her. Her heart thumped harder than she expected when he looked up. Their eyes met briefly, just a flicker. But instead of looking away, Elliot stared, unbothered, unblinking. Lila felt like she'd been caught doing something she didn't even know was illegal. She dropped her gaze, cheeks warm, and turned back to her phone. Her screen was open to her student portal. Red, yellow, GPA 2.6. The number burned into her memory. Her dream school required a 3.8 with minimum Bs in advanced math and science. She wasn't even close. The bell rang. Students shuffled in and out of the library. Elliot didn't move, still reading, still unfazed. Lila watched him from the corner of her eye, wondering how someone could seem both invisible and intimidating. Maybe he wouldn't help her, maybe he wouldn't even speak to her, but she had to try. She had no backup plan, no rich relatives, no family donations. All she had was a school counselor who said, "You need to turn things around now," and a deadline coming faster than she wanted to admit. If Elliot Grayson was the key, she'd find a way to get to him. The next day, she saw him again in the hallway. Same hoodie, same pace, same slightly awkward way he carried his backpack, like it weighed more than it should. Students parted around him like he didn't exist. But Lilah noticed. She was starting to see things differently. At lunch, she told Madison again, "I'm gonna ask him." Madison choked on her salad. Ask him what? If he's ever kissed a girl, he'll combust. Lilah rolled her eyes. To tutor me. Madison raised a brow. And you're just hoping the brain comes without the... Boo, Lilah ignored her. He's smart, I need help, that's it. Madison shrugged, poking at her lunch. You do you, babe. But don't say I didn't warn you when he starts talking in binary or correcting your grammar mid-sentence. Lilah just smiled. But inside she was already plotting, because she didn't care about what Elliot wore. She didn't care about his backpack or his social status. She cared about what he could give her, a future. And if she had to fake a smile, flatter him, charm him, so be it. It wouldn't be the first time she played the game. But what Bennett didn't know yet, was that Elliot Grayson wasn't playing. Lilah found Elliot by the lockers the next morning, exactly where she'd seen him every Tuesday. He had earbuds in, head buried in a paperback with a cracked spine. She took a breath, flipped her hair for good measure, and leaned against the locker like she was born to. "Hey, Elliot," she said, smiling like it was casual. He looked up slowly, one brow raised, not taking his earbuds out. "Me?" he asked, like there was another Elliot in a 20-foot radius. "Yes, you," she said, laughing like it was an inside joke. He finally took the earbuds out. "Did you lose a bet?" She blinked. "Excuse me?" He gestured to himself. "You're talking." "To me, that usually only happens in dystopian novels or science fairs." Lilah's smile faltered. "Okay, snarky, unexpected. I need a tutor," she said, recovering. "You're the smartest guy in school. I figured, maybe you could help me not fail calculus and chemistry before I ruin my life completely." Elliot tilted his head. So, the prom queen has fallen from grace?" Lilah crossed her arms. "Not fallen. Just strategically descending." He smirked. "Cute, but why me?" She paused. "Because I'll make it worth your time. I could help you too, with, people." He raised both eyebrows. "Wow, a makeover montage offer?" "I'm serious," she said. "You help me pass, I help you not be invisible." Elliot leaned against the lockers, studying her like a complicated equation. "And what if I like being invisible?" Lilah rolled her eyes. "Then I'll help you be a cooler version of invisible." There was a beat of silence. Then, with maddening calm, Elliot said, "I'll think about it." Lilah blinked. "That's it?" He shrugged. "I mean, this could be some long game setup to prank me on TikTok. Gotta run a risk assessment." That night, Lilah put the tutoring idea aside as she slipped into a gold silk dress that fit her like a glove. Her boyfriend, Chase, captain of the soccer team, son of a real estate mogul, picked her up in his Jeep. "You look insane," he said, meaning it as a compliment. The party was at Austin Tran's house. His parents were in Monaco for the week, which meant the mansion was fair game. Lights pulsed from inside. Music shook the windows. People spilled out onto the pool deck, red cups in hand, some already dancing. Inside it was like a movie. Neon lights, fog machines, a fully stocked bar some junior had apparently taken over, like a hobby. Lilah walked in on Chase's arm and felt the familiar warmth of eyes turning toward her. She was home, or so it was supposed to feel. People handed her drinks, complimented her outfit, played with her hair. She laughed on autopilot, When Chase disappeared into a beer pong game, she drifted through the house, admired, envied. But every time someone talked to her, their voice felt far away. She ended up alone on the upstairs balcony holding a barely sipped drink. Below her, the party raged. Friends kissed, danced, shouted lyrics. And all she could think about was how Elliot had looked at her like he saw through every bit of glitter she wore. Her phone buzzed. Madison texted, "You disappeared. Everything okay?" Lilah replied, "Just needed air." But what she really needed was stillness. Something not bought with status or selfies or someone else's mansion. She felt arms slide around her waist. From behind, Chase. He kissed her shoulder, his cologne mixing with vodka. "You okay, babe?" he murmured against her neck. She gave a faint smile, unsure how to answer. "Let's go upstairs," he said, already guiding her. She hesitated. "Chase, we've talked about this. You know how I feel about doing this. At other people's houses." He grinned. "I swear, last time, pinky promise." The room he found was dim, empty, still smelling faintly of someone else's perfume. He pulled her onto the bed like it was theirs. She didn't resist. It was easier that way. His hands moved with practiced confidence, but her mind stayed elsewhere. On the ceiling. On college. On how different this felt from the first time with him. Back then, there'd been butterflies, now just static. 2 years. That's how long they'd been together. Long enough to memorize each other, long enough to forget what it meant. Chase moaned her name like it still had meaning. She didn't answer. When it was over, he rolled over and passed out. Within seconds, she sat up, gathering her clothes silently, numb. This wasn't heartbreak. This was something worse. Disconnection. She nudged him. "Chase, wake up. I need to go home." He groaned. "Too drunk to drive. Just stay, babe. Sleep." She stood there in the dark, his arm thrown carelessly across the sheets. "I can't," she whispered, but he didn't hear. She pulled on her dress, tiptoed past the hallway of laughter and neon, and slipped out the front door alone. The walk home wasn't long, but it felt endless. The noise of the party faded behind her, replaced by crickets and silence. She kicked off her heels halfway through and carried them. That night her house felt like a sanctuary and a prison. She crawled into bed fully dressed, staring at the ceiling again. A different ceiling, but the same emptiness. The weekend dragged like... Chase texted Saturday morning, "Why'd you ghost me?" She stared at the message, then typed, "Because I'm done pretending this is enough." He replied minutes later, "Cool. Hit me up when you're over the drama." No apology, no confusion, just ego. That night, another message. "Party at Rafe's. Pick you up at 9? She didn't answer. He sent a thumbs-up emoji, that was it. Until Madison, sweet Madison, sent her a video. Chase, shirtless, kissing another girl against a kitchen counter. The camera was shaky, the music loud, but there was no mistaking his face, or the smugness in it. Lilah dropped the phone like it was hot. Her chest burned. She didn't cry right away. She lay still, frozen. But that night, under her sheets, it all broke. She cried like she hadn't in years, full-bodied silent sobs into her pillow. Not just for Chase, for everything, for being someone she wasn't, for chasing things that never gave anything back. Sunday blurred. She ignored her phone, skipped lunch, looked through old sketchbooks she used to fill in middle school. There was a drawing of her parents' backyard before her dad left, a flower her mom once planted, a boy she never got to talk to. She remembered liking who she was back then, when it wasn't about being adored, just seen. Monday hit harder than usual. She walked into school with sunglasses on even though the sky was gray. Everyone acted normal. The world didn't pause. No one knew. Her heart felt like glass shards in a velvet bag. At break, she sat on a bench near the science wing, scrolling Instagram without seeing anything. Just her thumb moving out of habit. "Careful," a voice said. "You're going to wear a hole in your screen." Lilah looked up. Elliot stood, there, hoodie on, bag slung over one shoulder. His tone was light, but his eyes weren't. He saw it. All of it. "Rough weekend?" he asked. She gave a half laugh. Nothing a full personality overhaul wouldn't fix. He sat beside her just far enough to be polite. "You looked like you were about to levitate with how fast your thumb was moving." She smiled weakly. "It's just a lot. Pressure. Expectations, fake smiles, some betrayal thrown in for fun." For the first time, she didn't mask it, and Elliot noticed. There was a pause. "Do you still want my help?" he asked. She looked at him. "With school?" He nodded. "Yeah, but also maybe with the rest of it too." She blinked. "Like a double deal?" He smiled, and it wasn't sarcastic this time. "Let's call it mutually beneficial chaos." Elliot stood beside the bench, watching her scroll aimlessly. His hands were in his pockets, his tone neutral. "So, I've considered your tutoring offer." Lilah glanced up, her eyes tired, makeup lighter than usual. "Yeah?" she said, voice duller than he remembered. He gave a small shrug. "I'll help you with your grades, but there's something else I want in return." She raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" He leaned in slightly. "I want you to be my fake girlfriend." She laughed, short and bitter. "You're kidding." "Not at all," he said calmly. "You want into a good college. I want basic high school experiences." Lilah crossed her arms, unsure if this was a prank. "I already have a boyfriend." "Correction," he said, pulling out his phone. "You had a boyfriend." He tapped his screen and showed her an Instagram story. There was Chase on a sunny beach, kissing the same girl from the party, posted hours ago, not even expired. Her heart thudded not with heartbreak but with humiliation. That doesn't mean she started, then stopped. It did mean something. Chase hadn't even tried to hide it. Her silence stretched too long. Elliot tucked his phone away. "I'm not offering this to mess with you," he said. "I know I'm weird, but I also know revenge can be productive." She gave him a hard look. "Productive? For both of us, you'll look like you moved on with someone unexpected." He gestured to himself sarcastically. "Nothing screams over it like dating me." She laughed once, more from exhaustion than humor. "And you get what exactly?" "Practice," he said. "I'm socially undeveloped, especially with girls. I'm not a test dummy." "No," he said. "You'd be a partner, a pretty one, with excellent posture." That made her smirk. "I've read every article on confidence, conversation, flirting," he continued. "But theory only gets you so far. I'm terrible in the field." She tilted her head. "You sound like you're talking about a science experiment." He shrugged. "Kind of is. I even made a checklist." She laughed. "A checklist of what?" "Milestones. Hug a girl. Watch a cheer practice. Dance at prom. You know." "You've never hugged a girl? Does my aunt count?" She shook. Her head then paused. "Wait, watch a cheer practice?" He smiled. "Top 5 on the list. I'm on the team." "Even better," he said. "Dating a cheerleader? Social jackpot." She rolled her eyes but smiled. "You're serious about this?" Deadly. He looked at her, softening his voice. "Also, you deserve better than Chase." That hit harder than she expected. He pulled something from his backpack, a slim, worn book. "The Little Prince?" she asked, puzzled. Non-negotiable. Reading, he said. You're assigning me homework before tutoring. It explains people, emotions, love, foxes. Foxes? You'll get it. He held it out. She hesitated, then took it. Wednesday, he said. After cheer. Practice, she nodded slowly. I'll think about it. Bring snacks, he added with a grin. Girlfriends bring snacks, she scoffed. Noted. He started walking away. She stared after him, the book still in her hands. Something about all this felt different. Absurd, reckless, but alive. And maybe, just maybe, kind of fun. As he disappeared down the hallway, she opened the book. The first sentence made her smile. It felt like the beginning of something. Not just tutoring, not just revenge. Maybe a distraction, maybe a game, maybe more. But for now, just chapter 1. Lilah kept the book with her all weekend, reading a few pages at a time between naps and tears. The Little Prince, surprised. Her. It was simple, but it felt. The fox's words about being tamed, about responsibility, stuck in her mind like perfume. She hadn't expected something so delicate to shake her. But it did. Maybe because, unlike everyone else in her life, the little prince asked for nothing. He only wanted to understand. And maybe, just maybe, that's what she wanted too. By Wednesday, she'd finished it. Twice. At lunch, the cafeteria buzzed with the usual teenage chaos. Trays clattering, phones flashing, gossip flying like confetti. Lilah, dressed in her cheer uniform, walked past her usual table, ignoring the calls of her friends. She made her way to the back corner, where Elliot sat alone with headphones in and a sandwich half-eaten. He barely noticed her until she sat directly across from him, unfolding a napkin with dramatic flair. Heads turned instantly. Conversations slowed. Phones lifted discreetly. Elliot blinked. This is going to destroy your image. She smirked, unbothered. What image? The one where you're untouchable and I'm whatever this is. He replied, motioning to himself. If we're doing this fake relationship thing, she said, opening her drink, people need to see it. She slid the book across the table toward him. Finished. Cried like a child. Happy? His face lit up for a moment, almost imperceptibly. And as a show of my sincerity, she added, biting into her sandwich, you're officially invited to today's cheer practice. He raised an eyebrow. Really? Eyes on me only, she said. No cheating. I have trauma. Later, that day, the gym echoed with the bounce of sneakers and the calls of girls shouting counts. The cheerleaders moved in precise formation, ponytails swinging, voices loud, legs lifting in perfect synchrony. Lilah at the center led the routine like a queen commanding her court, smiling, fierce, untouchable. From the bleachers, Elliot sat stiffly, notebook open on his lap, pretending to take notes on calculus but barely turning a page. His gaze flickered, first to Lilah, then to the others, then quickly back to her. His ears were red. His glasses kept sliding down. He didn't dare move. The routine ended in cheers, applause, and high fives among the girls. As they began dispersing for water and towels, Lilah approached him, her skin glowing with effort, hair damp and perfect. So? She asked, hands on hips. He blinked. You were athletic. She rolled her eyes. You were supposed to bring me water. That's like boyfriend rule number 1. He looked genuinely puzzled. I didn't know there were rules. She gave him a look. It would have been cute. He opened his mouth to reply, but she was already walking away, towel over her shoulder. Try again next time, Grayson. Before she could head to the locker room, Madison appeared at her side, still buzzing from the high of performance. Hey, we're grabbing smoothies before dinner. Come? Lilah hesitated, eyes drifting toward Elliot. Nah, I've got plans. Study stuff. Madison raised an eyebrow, following her gaze. With him? She asked, the question loaded. Yep. Lilah's tone was casual but firm. We've got an arrangement. Madison leaned in with a whisper. Girl, whatever helps those grades. Just don't catch feelings. Without waiting for a reply, she bounced away, not even sparing Elliot a glance. Inside the locker room, Lilah showered quickly, her mind still on Elliot. Something about his awkwardness was starting to amuse her. No, endear her. He wasn't trying to be cool. He wasn't performing. He was just there, honest, blunt. And maybe that's why he disarmed her. She toweled off, changed into jeans and a hoodie, tied her hair in a messy bun. When she stepped out, he was still in the same spot. Same notebook, still pretending to work. You ready? She asked, grabbing her bag. He stood without hesitation. I brought the contract, he said. You're going to love it. His car was a modest navy blue sedan, slightly dusty but clean inside. A bobblehead Einstein wobbled on the dashboard. Lilah raised an eyebrow at it. Really? He smiled as he started the engine. He keeps me humble. They drove in silence for a while, until the small burger joint came into view. Retro, signs, neon lights, old school charm. He parked and they slid into a booth near the window. Okay, he said, pulling out a carefully folded sheet of paper. Clause 1, mutual respect. Lilah laughed. This sounds like 50 Shades. Should I be worried? His face turned bright red. I didn't mean it like that, he stammered, reaching for his milkshake. It's just structure, boundaries, rules. She leaned back, clearly enjoying herself. Relax, Mr. Gray, I'm teasing. He exhaled slowly, then smiled. Good. Because Clause 4 is movie night, and I won't survive if you mock my pics. She giggled and took the paper. They read it together, crossing some lines out, adding silly ones. No ghosting, she said. No canceling without a good excuse, and you'll need to attend at least one pep rally. He groaned. You're pushing it, she winked. Fine print, baby. As the check came, Elliot offered to pay, but she insisted on splitting. It's only fair, she said. We're partners now. He nodded, strangely okay with that word. Partners. On the way back to his house, she asked about his family. 2 parents married, 1 sister, 9 years old, obsessed with glitter and musicals. She smiled. That's cute. He shrugged. It's chaotic, but she likes you already. Lilah blinked. She's never met me. He gave her a sideways glance. You're a cheerleader. She thinks you're magical. Lilah laughed, feeling something loosen inside her. It had been a good day. His house sat on a quiet suburban street. Neat lawn, wind chimes, a porch swing. Inside it smelled of cinnamon and old books. Mom bakes, he explained. Dad reads. A lot. Lilah nodded, looking around. Family photos lined the hallway. A dog barked once from upstairs. Crosby, he said. He's a senior citizen now. No jumping. She smiled. I like it here. He led her to his room. Tidy, covered in books and notes. A whiteboard showed equations. A second one had quotes from books. Nerd Central, he muttered. She turned in a slow circle. Honestly, it's kind of perfect. They sat on the floor, legs crossed, notebooks open. He began explaining trigonometry, drawing diagrams, explaining sine and cosine. She listened, really listened. Maybe because he didn't talk down to her. He asked what she understood, what confused her, and waited for real answers. She wrote. Slowly, the numbers starting to make sense. After an hour, they switched roles. Now she quizzed him on eye contact, posture, casual compliments. "Say something nice to me," she challenged. He looked flustered, then muttered, "Your handwriting's unexpectedly elegant." She laughed. "That's not flirting, that's a Yelp review." He cleared his throat. "Okay, let me try. Again." She waited, curious. He met her eyes, hesitant but sincere. "You have a laugh that makes people turn to look, in a good way." She blinked. It was the first real compliment she'd received in weeks, maybe longer. She tucked her hair behind her ear, suddenly shy. "Not bad," she whispered. "We'll work on it." It was a Saturday morning when Lilah returned to Elliot's house for another study session. But this time his little sister opened the door. She wore a tutu over jeans and had glitter in her hair. "Are you the Princess Elliot talks about?" she asked, wide-eyed. Lilah laughed. "Something like that." The girl pulled her in with sticky fingers. "Do you want to see my tiara collection?" And just like that, Lilah was sitting cross-legged on the floor, nodding seriously at each plastic gem and feather boa. She didn't realize she was smiling like a child again. Elliot appeared in the doorway holding 2 mugs of tea, pausing when he saw Lilah with a glitter crown on her head. "Well," he said, "if I knew royalty was visiting, I would have worn my cape." Lilah smirked and handed the crown to the little girl, who declared Elliot not sparkle-worthy. When she left the room, Lilah looked up at him. "She's awesome," he nodded. "She thinks you're the heroine of her favorite movie now." Lilah shrugged. "Maybe I am." She didn't say it out loud, but it felt nice, like being wanted for something. Pure. Over the next few weeks, her grades improved more than she expected. Equations stopped looking like alien runes and started making actual sense. Elliot had a way of explaining things without making her feel dumb, and she found herself waiting for their sessions like she used to wait for texts from Chase. Meanwhile, she began training Elliot in the ways of social survival, teaching him how to make small talk, how to smile without looking terrified, how not to start a sentence with a random fact about black holes. He was awkward, but he tried, and that mattered. One afternoon, after acing a mock quiz, Lilah leaned back on his bed with a triumphant grin. "Okay, genius, I'm officially smarter. Now I get to look into your closet." Elliot froze mid-step, textbook in hand. "What?" She pointed toward his wardrobe. "Bring out everything. I need to see what crimes you've been committing." Against fashion. He hesitated but obeyed, dragging a pile of hoodies and baggy jeans across the room. Lilah poked at them like she was inspecting a crime scene. "Seriously, who hurt you?" He didn't laugh. He just sat on the floor quietly. She looked at him, her smile softening. "Okay, no judgment, but why all the layers? You dress like you live in Alaska." He gave a half shrug. "It's just easier, comfortable." Lilah stood, pulled a fitted tee from the pile, one clearly a few years old and snugger than the others. "Put this on." He blinked. "Now?" She nodded. "Now." He glanced at the door. "While you're here?" She arched an eyebrow. "Yes, Elliot. I've seen shoulders before." He sighed, turned his back, and peeled off the hoodie. She wasn't prepared for what came next. His back was sculpted, not in a bodybuilder way, but lean and defined, like someone who ran and swam often. When he turned around, pulling the tighter shirt down, Lilah blinked. "Whoa, wait. What is this?" He looked down, confused. "What's what?" She gestured toward him. "You have a body like an actual unfairly good body." He scratched his neck. "I used to swim and run. My therapist said it helped." She tilted her head. "Therapist?" He nodded. "Got bullied a lot, got complicated. I don't really like talking about it. She stepped closer, eyes narrowing with curiosity. So you're hot and traumatized? That's so YA novel. He chuckled, slightly embarrassed. She reached up and gently took off his glasses. He blinked at the sudden clarity. Don't worry, she said softly. I'm not gonna kiss you. Teaching you to kiss wasn't in the contract. She paused. Yet. And for the first time, she really saw him. Without the glasses and layers, Elliot wasn't weird-looking. He was actually beautiful. The kind of beautiful people ignore because they've already decided who you are. She stepped back and sat on the bed, trying to process it all. Okay, she said, clapping her hands once. Let's talk money. When do you get your allowance? He frowned. Why? Because we're going shopping, she said like it was obvious. You're not wearing baggy Lord of the Rings hoodies in public anymore. No offense to Tolkien. He sighed. This is a bad idea. She raised a finger like a teacher making a point. You helped me understand trigonometric identities. Now I help you understand slim fit jeans and charm. Balance in the universe. Later that night, Lilah sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, textbooks scattered around her. She'd taken a cute selfie while reviewing notes in Elliot's room, half playful, half aesthetic, and impulsively posted it to her story. She tagged him, then she checked his account. He didn't follow her, not even a single post. She stared at her screen, incredulous. Seriously? She messaged him immediately. Excuse me, what kind of boyfriend doesn't follow his girlfriend on Instagram? Already starting off wrong, Mr. Gray. Son. She added a series of dramatic emojis for flair. Few minutes later, he replied, I don't really post anything. Didn't think it mattered, she gasped. Didn't think it mattered, she typed furiously. It matters. It definitely matters. You're dating me. Even if it's fake, appearances matter. He replied. Noted. 2 minutes passed. Then, she got a notification. Elliot.Grayson started following you. Finally, she muttered, tossing her phone on the bed with exaggerated relief. When she checked his page again, she found it adorable, almost tragic. One blurry picture of a telescope, another of a pie chart meme about introverts. A third was just a photo of the night sky, captioned November. Lilah smiled. We have work to do, she whispered. She started drafting a post in her mind, something that would introduce him subtly to her world. Not too sudden, not too fake, just enough for people to notice. Maybe a photo of them laughing over milkshakes, or maybe a boomerang of their hands grazing accidentally. Chemistry had to feel real. Meanwhile, Elliot was lying in bed staring at the screen. Her story showed them studying, but the caption said, My genius boyfriend. Don't steal him, ladies. He blinked. Was that normal? Was he supposed to repost? He clicked the little paper plane and sent it back to her with a confused emoji. She answered, Yes, repost it. You're mine now. He obeyed. Within 5 minutes, he had 3 new followers, and 2 DMs from classmates he didn't even know. He stared at them, then turned off his phone. The world was changing faster than he expected. The next day, Lilah walked into the cafeteria, tray in hand, scanning the room until her eyes landed on Elliot. He was at their usual table, earbuds in, hunched over as if nothing mattered. She approached, with a teasing smile forming, ready to make a clever remark, until she got close enough to see his face. Her steps slowed, her breath hitched. His lower lip was swollen and a bruise was blooming across his left eyebrow, raw and unmistakable. Elliot? She asked, her voice low, but he didn't look up. Didn't need to. She dropped her tray and slid into the seat across from him. Elliot, she said again, firmer. This time he looked up, tugging one earbud out. "Hey," he said casually, as if his face weren't wrecked. Lilah's heart pounded. "What happened to you?" He shrugged, sipping juice like nothing. "Happened. Turns out dating the current prom queen has its pros and cons," he muttered, then added with a dry smirk, "You should have seen the other guy." He paused. "Actually, he's fine, totally fine. I'm the only souvenir." Her hands clenched into fists beneath the table. "Elliot, tell me who did this." His face tilted slightly, expression unreadable. "5 guys from the football team," he said like it was weather. "Hard to argue with 5. Maybe I could have taken one, but not when they come at you in a hallway like a pack." He laughed softly, bitter. "Didn't even get to throw a punch, just defended. And now I need new glasses." He pointed at the cracked lens. "Good thing you still look cute blurred." Lilah's throat tightened. The joke stung more than it soothed. Without another word, she stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. Elliot blinked, startled. "Where? Are you going?" She didn't answer. She was already storming across the cafeteria, heading straight for the table where the football team lounged like kings of the jungle. Laughter, high fives, confidence, until she arrived. Chase looked up, grin forming. "Hey, babe." Smack. Her hand cracked across his cheek. The sound echoed, slicing through the noise like a whip. The entire table froze. Chase's head snapped sideways. The red mark across his cheek bloomed instantly. "What the hell, Lilah?" He growled, reaching for her arm, but she pulled back, fire in her eyes. "Don't you dare touch me," she said, voice cold and sharp. "You're a coward, a disgusting, spineless coward." Murmurs spread like wildfire across the room. "Did you think I wouldn't find out? That I'd just keep smiling while you send your goons after someone because he sits next to me?" Chase opened his mouth, but she wasn't done. "Hit me too, Chase. Or will you send your little army again?" She stepped closer, fury radiating from every pore. "You ever touch Elliot again, or even look at him the wrong way, and I will destroy you. I have pictures. I have receipts. I know things." She leaned in, just enough for only him to hear. "I never posted the ones from your birthday. You know which ones. Try me." His jaw tensed, his eyes darted, searching for backup that wasn't coming. Lilah stood tall. Forget I ever existed. Then she turned, hair whipping behind her, and walked back across the cafeteria, ignoring the sea of whispers behind her. Elliot was already standing when she got back, unsure whether to thank her or beg her not to make things worse. But she grabbed his hand without a word. He followed. Silence wrapped around them like armor. She was trembling, angry, alive with emotion she couldn't name. They didn't speak until they reached the parking lot. He rubbed his eye. "Can you drive?" he asked, voice tired. "I don't have backup glasses. Never thought I'd need 'em." She blinked. "You're serious?" He nodded. "Everything's kind of a Monet painting right now." She sighed and held out her hand for the keys. "Let's go." He handed them over without protest. On. The ride to his house, neither of them spoke. Music played softly, but it didn't fill the tension. Lilah's grip on the wheel was tight, her mind racing. She couldn't shake the image of Elliot's bruised face. The thought of him cornered like that made her sick, and the way Chase looked at her, like he still owned something. She blinked hard, trying to focus. "I'm sorry," she finally said, voice hoarse. "For all of this, for them, for me." Elliot didn't answer right away. "It's not your fault," he said after a beat. "You didn't ask for this." She turned into his driveway, braking a little too hard. "Still," she muttered, "I didn't see it coming. I should have." He looked over at her, trying to make her out through his blurry vision. You did see it, eventually, and you slapped him. That was cinematic. She let out a shaky laugh, unbuckling her seatbelt. I might have fractured his ego. Good, he said. Maybe it'll swell to match his face now. Inside his house it was quiet. His mom was out with his sister, so they had the place to themselves. Lilah sat him down on the couch and began gathering an ice pack. She handed it to him gently. Here, she said. Keep it there. He did, flinching slightly at the cold. She sat next to him but didn't speak. Just stared ahead, arms folded, breathing hard. After a moment she whispered, I want to burn their jerseys. Elliot smiled without humor. You could, but they'd probably just post more gym selfies to compensate. I never thought Chase would be this. She trailed off. Violent? Elliot offered. She nodded. He was always cocky, controlling. But I thought I mattered more than his ego. Sometimes people love power more than people, Elliot said quietly. Especially the ones who already think they own everything. She leaned into the couch, exhausted. This isn't what I signed up for. He glanced at her, then away. Neither did I, but maybe we're rewriting the script now. Lilah closed her eyes. Yeah, maybe. Minutes passed in silence. Then Lilah turned to him, a softer look on her face. You scared me. She did, walking up and seeing you like that. Her voice cracked. She covered her mouth, biting it back. Elliot shook his head. I've been hit before, Lilah. That doesn't make it okay. No, he agreed. But it means I'm still here. She looked at him, really looked. You didn't deserve it. He didn't reply, but his fingers brushed hers on the couch cushion, just barely. They didn't talk much for the rest of the evening. They watched old cartoons on low volume, his ice pack balanced like a crown. She stayed until the sun started to fade, the sky turning golden behind the windows. As she stood to leave, he walked her to the door. Thank you, he said. For showing up. Always, she replied. You're not alone anymore, okay? He nodded, and for a moment she thought he might hug her, but he didn't. And somehow that restraint made it feel even more real. Elliot pulled up in front of Lilah's house exactly at 10 a.m., just like she'd told him to. His car, a faded blue Toyota Corolla with a cracked dashboard, hummed softly. In the driveway, he checked his hair in the rearview mirror, then stepped out and rang the doorbell. When Lilah opened it, her hair was in a loose braid, and she wore oversized sunglasses and a denim jacket too cool for morning hours. You're punctual, she said, hopping down the steps. I live in fear of being late, he replied. That tracks, she smirked, sliding into the passenger seat. As they drove toward the mall, Lilah scrolled through music on her phone and connected to the car's Bluetooth. Okay, first rule of reinvention. Soundtrack matters. Elliot gave her a side glance. Do I get veto power? Only if you're paying, she teased. She put on a playlist filled with synth-pop and alt-girl anthems. He tapped the steering wheel, pretending to hate it. The tension between them was light, unspoken, curious. Somewhere between the first and third stoplight, she noticed he wasn't just tolerating the morning. He was enjoying it. At the mall, she grabbed his wrist and dragged him straight into a minimalist men's store. Rule 2, she said. Black never fails. Elliot blinked under the fluorescent lights. I feel like I'm being drafted into a cult. A cult of style, yes, she nodded. She handed him a fitted Henley, then a pair of jeans that didn't scream software engineer. Go now, I want results. He groaned dramatically but disappeared into the fitting room. She leaned against the mirror, texting Madison. This might be more fun than prom. When he stepped out, the transformation was subtle but undeniable. The shirt clung to his chest in all the right ways. The jeans hugged instead of hid. Lilah tilted her head. Okay. Why were you hiding that? Hiding what? He asked, pulling at the shirt awkwardly. Whatever this is. She motioned vaguely toward him. You're not supposed to be... She trailed off. Not supposed to be what? He asked, voice low. Never mind, she said. But she was looking. Now really looking. What she saw unsettled something in her. You're like Clark Kent with clothes on, she said, half laughing, half breathless. And Superman without them. Elliot raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. That might be the worst analogy I've heard all year. It's accurate, though, she smirked. You're hiding a superhero body under thrift store sweaters. He rolled his eyes, clearly embarrassed. She stepped closer, still holding the fitted shirt. Here, she said, voice gentler. Arms up. He obeyed, and she pulled the shirt down over his head, her fingers brushing his skin. The touch lingered, unintentionally intimate. For a second, the air changed, thicker, warmer, charged. Her hands rested against his chest a beat too long before she realized what she was doing. She took a step back, mentally scolding herself. What are you doing? She had no idea why her heart was racing. There, she said, covering the tension with a smile. Much better. He gave her a small nod, adjusting the collar. Glad to be approved by the fashion queen. Always, she replied, but her voice sounded softer now. They went through a few more outfits, none as striking as the first. Still, something had shifted. She kept sneaking glances when she thought he wasn't looking, and when their hands accidentally touched over a folded hoodie, they both froze, silent, but wide awake. Okay, she said, trying to reset the vibe. You look human now, still weird, but upgrade achieved. He smirked. You know, you're kind of mean for someone who asked me out first. She gasped. It was for science. Still counts, he said smugly. Back in the car, she adjusted the mirror toward herself and snapped a selfie. Elliot was just barely in the frame, eyes on the road. She posted it anyway. Shopping therapy with the weirdest genius alive, and tagged him. Few minutes later, she noticed he still hadn't liked it. She turned to him. You're seriously not going to like the picture? Didn't even see it, he said. You tagged me? Obviously, that's like step 2 of being a fake boyfriend. Once they got back to his house, he unlocked the door and dropped the bags by the stairs. You hungry? He asked. Starving, she replied. But only if you're making grilled cheese again. That's my only specialty, he said, heading to the kitchen. While he prepped, she wandered into the living room where Zoe was watching cartoons. Hey, Sparkle Queen, Lilah said, ruffling the little girl's hair. You like your brother's new look? Zoe nodded. He looks less like a librarian and more like a superhero. After they ate, they ended up on the couch with Star Wars playing in the background. Lilah had never actually watched the whole thing before. Wait, that's his dad? I thought the old guy was his dad, she exclaimed. Elliot laughed. No, that's Obi-Wan, not a dad, just a dead mentor. This is so confusing, she mumbled, but didn't take her eyes off the screen. Also, Leia and Luke. Like, do they end up together? No, he said quickly. Don't ask why, just keep watching. Midway through the second movie, Madison texted, Big party at Ava's tonight. Come or die of FOMO. Lilah stared at the message, then at Elliot, curled into the corner of the couch, eyes locked on the screen. For once, she didn't feel like she was missing anything. She tossed her phone aside, pulled a blanket over both of them, and leaned her head on his shoulder. You're not going to make me watch the prequels, are you? She mumbled. Only if you mispronounce lightsaber again, he said. When the credits rolled, she yawned and stretched. Okay, nerd boy, time to take me home. Gladly, he said, standing up and grabbing his keys. The drive was quiet, peaceful. The kind of quiet that doesn't beg to be filled. Outside her house, she hesitated before opening the door. So, can I mark something off your checklist? He blinked. What thing? Hugging your fake girlfriend goodnight. He smiled softly. Permission granted. She stepped into his arms, heart pounding. She leaned in and kissed his jaw, just below the edge of his cheekbone, warm and slightly stubbled. He inhaled sharply. That wasn't on the list, he whispered. Then update it, she murmured. Good night, Elliot. She pulled away and he watched her go until the door closed behind her. For a moment he didn't move. Then he pulled out his phone, opened his notes app and typed, Mirror 7. She kissed me, not part of the deal. Felt like everything. So you're really bringing Elliot to my party? Madison asked, half laughing as she twirled a lock of hair around her finger. Like hoodie-wearing never talks in class, Elliot? Lilah nodded, already applying her gloss. The very same. But no hoodie anymore. Just Elliot 2.0. Madison's brows rose. You know Chase will be there. I don't care, Lilah said quickly. We're done, like dead done. She tapped her phone. Besides, I already told Elliot we're going together. After school, they met at the school's main exit. We're stopping by my place first, she announced, tossing her hair. You're gonna help me pick an outfit? He asked, confused. Nope, I'm picking yours, she replied, smirking. Then I'll change at your place, not letting you get dressed unsupervised. I feel objectified, he said dryly. That's because you are. Now drive. She slid into his car like she'd done it 100 times, already texting. Madison. Operation Glow Up is a go. At his house, Lilah immediately took control. She laid out 3 outfit options, all newly bought, and rejected 2 within 10 seconds. Nope, this one's the one. Then she turned to him. Sit. We're fixing your face. Excuse me? He asked. You don't get to be hot with caterpillar eyebrows, Elliot. She pinned him to the bathroom counter, trimming and shaping his brows with surgeon-like precision. Ow! He winced. Stop moving. Beauty is pain. You're literally enjoying this. A little. She dabbed a light concealer under his eyes, brushed his hair forward just slightly, then stepped back. Okay, she said. Moment of truth. Look. He stared in the mirror. It was still him, but not quite. Softer edges, sharper lines. His jaw looked more defined, eyes brighter behind the absence of glasses. Do I pass? He asked. You don't just pass, she said. You ascend. He turned to her. What about you? I'll be ready in 10, she winked. Try not to cry while I transform. 10 minutes turned into 20, but when she finally walked out of the bathroom, it was worth every second. She wore a fitted black dress, simple but devastating, with her hair loosely curled over her shoulder. Wow, he muttered. That's not casual. It's a party, Elliot. You're supposed to look like trouble. I'm just matching the vibe. He offered her his arm. Shall we? She linked hers through it, smiling. Let's go ruin some fragile egos. The moment they stepped into the party, the noise dipped just slightly. Eyes followed them, some confused, some stunned. Elliot, once invisible, now looked like the plot twist no one saw coming. Lilah walked beside him like she was born in heels, but even she felt the tension in the room shift. They're staring, he whispered. Let them, she replied. You look like someone who breaks hearts and reads poetry. I've never broken anything. Maybe you'll start tonight. Lilah spotted Madison near the drink table and gave Elliot a quick glance. Be right back, she said, and practically skipped over. Madison took one look at her and grinned like a shark. Girl. girl." "What?" Lilah asked. "You found diamond in a pile of coal. Elliot is, like, hot. He's hot, right? Like actual hot?" Lilah laughed, half shrugging. "I mean, we haven't exactly done anything. It's fake." Madison leaned in. "So study harder. I guarantee that boy's never even kissed anyone." Lilah flushed but shook it off. "That's not what this is." "Yet," Madison said. "Yet?" She sipped her drink and wagged a finger. "Look, he might be a project now, but trust me, you're building something." Lilah looked back at Elliot, who stood stiffly by the wall, pretending to read a poster about safe driving. "He's sweet," she murmured, "and funny, and way smarter than all of this. And now he's hot. That's like the cheat code. Don't waste it." Lilah rolled her eyes, but her smile lingered. Returning to Elliot's side, she bumped his shoulder gently. "You surviving?" "Barely," he said. "I was mistaken for a human cardboard cutout twice. Could have been worse. Could have been mistaken for Chase." He grinned at that. "Touché." They walked slowly through the house, weaving past familiar faces that now saw them as something else entirely. Someone offered Elliot a drink, which he declined. Another girl touched his arm. Lilah's grip tightened just slightly on his hand. Outside, the patio lights glowed like strings of stars, and the pool shimmered under them. They sat on the edge, their feet hovering over the water. "This is kinda peaceful," he admitted. "Kinda weird," she replied, "but not bad." "You ever just want to jump in, clothes and all?" he asked. She tilted her head. "That's poetic." "Nah, just overheated." She laughed. The kind of laugh that didn't need to be pretty. "You're not what I expected," she admitted. "Good," he said. "I'd hate to be predictable." They watched the water ripple, music thumping softly in the background. She nudged him. "Tell me something no one else knows." He hesitated. "I had a stutter until I was 12. I practiced alone in my room every night to get rid of it." Her face softened. "I would have never guessed." "That's the point," he said. "People look at you different when you sound broken." "And now?" she asked. "Now I hide in sarcasm. It's safer." She didn't say anything, just leaned into his shoulder gently. Madison waved from across the yard, gesturing toward a circle of students gathering near the fire pit. Chase was there too, laughing too loudly, holding court. "Want to join?" Elliot asked. Lilah shook her head. "Not tonight." "Because of him?" "Because I'd rather be here." Elliot's jaw clenched, not in anger but restraint. She noticed. "I like this version of you," she whispered. "The one that doesn't pretend." "You make it hard to pretend," he whispered back. The music changed, softer now. Some couples were dancing in the garden near the lights. "Do you dance?" he asked. "Only if it's ironic," she replied. "Perfect," he said, standing and offering his hand. She took it, letting him pull her into a slow, swaying rhythm. They didn't speak for a while, just moved, just existed in that brief, strange harmony. Her head rested lightly against his chest, and he exhaled as if letting go of something old. She heard it. "I'm glad you kissed me," he said suddenly. She looked up. "On the jaw?" "Anywhere," he said. "Even if it wasn't in the contract." "It wasn't," she confirmed. "But I might add an addendum." He smiled, the kind of smile that didn't need approval. She wanted to kiss him again but didn't. Not yet. Not like this. There was still too much left unsaid. Too much real between the fake. Later that night, as he dropped her off, he didn't reach for her hand. She reached for his. "Tonight was unexpected," she said. "In a good way. In a real way," she answered. He nodded, trying to look away. She leaned in again, Not to kiss this time, but to press her forehead against his for just a second. "Thanks for not pretending." "I don't think I know how to anymore," he whispered. Then she stepped out, heels clicking against the driveway. He watched her until she vanished inside. By Monday morning, whispers followed them, through the halls. Photos from Madsen's party had gone viral in their little high school ecosystem. Lilah and Elliot, side by side laughing, her hand on his chest, were the unexpected headline. Some were amused, others confused. A few were clearly threatened. Chase hadn't looked at her during first period, but Lilah could feel the weight of his silence, and it didn't sit rig even at lunch. The tension buzzed like static. Elliot sat with her again, and their trays were like stage props for the dozens of curious eyes around them. One girl from cheer leaned in too close to Elliot, laughing a little too loud. Lilah smiled, but it was tight, clipped. When Elliot thanked the girl politely, Lilah stabbed her fork into her salad with a little after school. They studied together as planned. Math turned into English, and English into moments of shared glances. "You're improving," Elliot said, marking her paper. "You actually get subjunctive mood now." She grinned. "Thanks to you." Then Lilah sat back, tapping her pen against her lip. "I think it's time for your next class." Elliot looked up. "Which one?" She stood and walked toward the door, locking it with a soft click. Elliot raised a brow. "That feels like a plot twist." She turned slowly. "It's a new module," she said. "Advanced Defense Against Manipulation." He tilted his head. "That sounds ominous." Lilah crossed her arms, eyes playful but steady. "You're cute now. Girls will notice. Some of them will try to use you, test your limits, play you." He blinked. "This is still weird." "Shut up," she said. "It's a lesson." "Stand up," she ordered. Elliot obeyed, unsure. Lilah circled him slowly, like a sculptor assessing marble. Her fingers brushed his arm. "Still solid," she murmured. He stayed still, his breath shallow. She reached the nape of his neck, grazing the short hair there, watching goosebumps rise. "Sensitive spot?" she teased. He didn't answer. She moved closer, resting her head briefly against his chest. "Smells like detergent and regret, Lilah," he whispered, as she tilted her head up. "This is part of the lesson?" "All of it," she replied softly. "But don't fall for it." He lifted her chin, his fingers hesitant but warm. Too late. Their lips met, tentative, then certain. Her hands found his shoulders, his slid to her waist. The world narrowed. There was no test, no plan. Just two people learning a language neither of them spoke fluently. She broke the kiss, eyes clouded. "You were supposed to resist." "You're not fake," he said, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "So I didn't want to." She kissed him again, deeper this time. The room seemed to inhale with them. The door stayed locked, the books forgotten on the desk. His hands trembled, hers didn't. But her heart did. This wasn't about revenge. Anymore. This was something else. She guided him gently to the edge of the bed, her touch both electric and comforting. He hesitated. She didn't. "Are you sure?" he asked, voice rough. "I want to be part of something real," she said. "And if this is real, I want to feel it, not think it." He looked at her like she was light breaking through water. Neither moved fast, but nothing was held back either. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was sacred. Buttons were slower than thoughts. Zippers became confessions. Nothing was rushed. Her fingers were gentle, his breath uneven. When their bodies finally aligned, it wasn't lust that moved them. It was emotion unspoken, anxiety transformed, a need to be known in ways no one else had tried. They weren't careful, but they were kind. Outside, the sky turned coral, then lavender. Inside, they explored the distance between affection and vulnerability. When it was over, whatever it was, they didn't speak for a while. She lay with her head on his chest, hearing the echo of her own heartbeat. He held her like she might disappear. She felt solid, for the first time in weeks. Anchored, chosen, unjudged. "I think I failed the test," he said finally. She smiled against his skin. "No, you passed something else." He turned to look at her, hair slightly messy, eyes unreadable. "Does this change anything?" She thought about that. About Chase, the parties, the whispers, the girl who needed attention like oxygen. "It changes me," she said. "That's enough." Later, as she got dressed, she caught him watching her, not lustfully, but as if she were a mystery he now wanted to protect. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. "Don't overthink it," she whispered. "I'm trying something new. Being real." He nodded. "I'll try too." She smiled, more with her eyes than her lips. That night she didn't post anything. No selfies, no curated captions. Her phone buzzed with invites, gossip, jokes. She ignored them. Her silence wasn't sadness, it was peace. For once she didn't feel like filling the space, she let it be quiet. Elliot had written that in his checklist once. 12. Be quiet with someone and not feel alone. Maybe she just completed that item for him. The next morning, Lilah reached for her phone before she even opened her eyes. There it was. A message. From Elliot. "Good morning." Just that, simple, honest. And yet it made her chest tighten in the softest way. She smiled into her pillow. Her fingers flew. "I hope you know that messages like that are required in a relationship," he replied. "In a fake relationship?" She paused, then typed, "Is that an invitation?" His answer came seconds later. "If I say yes, I'll have to burn my entire checklist." She laughed, out loud, alone in her room, still wrapped in blankets. She never used to laugh like that so early. It was a different kind of beginning, quiet and full of color. She didn't care if it was still fake. It felt real where mattered, where it counted. She got out of bed humming a tune she didn't recognize. Later that morning, her hands trembled slightly as she opened the grading portal. The results were in. Every subject listed, every score marked. When she saw her final math grade, she let out a sharp breath. She had made it, barely, but enough. She was free. Free from retakes, from her parents' disappointment, from academic probation. She wanted to tell someone. She wanted to tell him. Elliot met her at the lockers. When she told him, he smiled so wide it almost startled her. "Told you," he said, nudging her shoulder. "You're not hopeless." "Still dramatic," she replied, "but I'll allow it." They walked side by side down the hallway, heads turning as they passed. Something had shifted. People were noticing. Elliot was no longer invisible, and he didn't seem to mind. It wasn't long before someone approached him. A girl from senior year, all glossy lips and fake curiosity. "Hey," she purred. "You're Elliot, right?" He glanced at her, the corner of his mouth lifting, headphones still in place. "Yep," he said, and walked past her without slowing down. She blinked, confused. Lilah watched the whole thing from a few feet away, arms crossed. Elliot reached her, removed one earbud, and said, "See? Not falling for fake girls." She laughed, eyes narrowing. "Impressive. You want a prize? A gold star?" "I was thinking more like a kiss." She pulled him close and brushed her lips against his, soft and slow. Their first public kiss. Subtle, but seismic. By lunch, whispers spread. Did you see? Is she serious? Since when is Elliot Grayson hot? The next day, someone had updated the school gossip blog. A blurry photo of them kissing captioned, "The new king of the court." Lilah rolled her eyes but didn't deny it. Elliot found it hilarious. "They crowned me without asking," he joked, nudging her knee under the cafeteria table. "Absolute monarchy," she replied. "Guess I'm your queen." They both paused, then smiled awkwardly. Her world was quieter now, but not empty. It was steady, like the hum of a song you don't know the lyrics to, but still want to sing. She noticed little things, how Elliot always walked on the side of the sidewalk closest to the road, how he never let her carry her own backpack when they left school together, how his voice got softer whenever she was tired. She had never paid attention like that before. One afternoon, they sat in the back row of the library, books open but untouched. "You okay?" he asked, noticing the way her fingers tapped the cover of her notebook. "Yeah," she said, looking up. "Just feeling things." He nodded slowly. "Same." He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, watching her. "Do you think people can change, like really change?" "Maybe not overnight," she said. "But yeah, I think they can." He nodded, as if tucking her answer away for later. Then, "What happens when the checklist ends?" She tilted her head. "You make a new one, together." And just like that, something unnamed settled between them. Not heavy, but dense, full of meaning. Neither wanted to break it, so they let the silence linger. Words weren't necessary when you trusted what was becoming. Days blurred into each other, full of soft routines and glances that lingered longer than before. They had their own rhythm, now. It wasn't about proving anything anymore, not to Chase, not to the school, not even to themselves. It was just real, unrushed, unspoken. And when she found herself reaching for her phone, it was only to message Elliot, not to count likes. That weekend, while walking through a bookstore downtown, she spotted a leather notebook with "Let's Begin Again" embossed on the cover. Without thinking, she bought it. Later that night, she gave it to Elliot. "For your new checklist," she said. He looked at her like she'd handed him a key. "Does that mean I get to write things like, 'Kiss Lilah whenever I feel like it'?" She smirked. "As long as you don't need permission." That night, he kissed her in her driveway again. Not rushed, not calculated, just real. She clung to his jacket for a moment longer than she meant to, her forehead resting against his. "You're not going anywhere, right?" she asked. "Only if you come with me," he whispered. And that was the first time she realized she wasn't afraid anymore. Not of heartbreak, not of trust, not of him. She didn't know where it would all lead. Maybe nowhere, maybe forever. But she was in it now, fully. Not for revenge, not for performance, but for connection. For warmth, for that feeling in her chest when his name popped up on her screen. She once thought love had to be loud and messy. Turns out it could also be quiet and kind. Elliot didn't ask her to be his real girlfriend. Not with words. He just was, present, soft, unwavering. And somehow she didn't need the label. She just needed him. That Monday they walked into school holding hands. Not for the show, not for the audience, just because it felt right. And maybe that was enough. That afternoon they sat under the old tree near the football field. He was sketching something in the corner of his notebook. She leaned closer. "What's that?" "Our story," he said simply. "I thought you didn't write fiction." "I don't," he said. "Not anymore." Her heart fluttered in a way she hadn't expected. She reached for his hand, lacing her fingers through his. For once, She wasn't wondering what would happen next. She didn't need to. The moment was enough. The boy she had once underestimated had rewritten every chapter she thought she knew by heart, and the girl who used to only see surface had found something deeper, something whole, something she didn't want to lose. So when he whispered, "You changed everything," she whispered back, "You made me want to." It was Saturday, and the wind had changed. That soft chill in the air that made people start whispering about what dress to wear to the dance, what suit, what shoes. Lilah was curled up on the couch when the letter slipped through the mail slot. She stared at it for a moment, her breath catching. Her name was printed neatly on the front. She picked it up, fingers trembling, then folded it tightly in her palm. She didn't open it. Not alone. Not yet. Somehow, it didn't feel right without him. She called Elliot. "Can I come over?" she asked, her voice lighter than usual. "I'll pick you up," he said without hesitation. 15 minutes later, he was at her doorstep, hoodie zipped halfway, curls slightly damp like he'd just showered. She smiled. On his porch, his mom brought them lemonade and slices of pound cake. Lilah bit her lip, holding out the unopened letter. "I need you to open this." Elliot looked startled. "Me?" "Yeah," she said. "It's important." He held it gently, like it was something sacred. "You sure?" She nodded. "I want to know with you." He ran his thumb along the seal. "I feel incredibly honored." She rolled her eyes, trying not to giggle. With a soft rip, he opened the envelope. His eyes scanned the page once, then twice. He frowned slightly. "What?" she whispered. "Read it," she said, nudging him. He cleared his throat dramatically. "It is with the highest honor," he read, "that Miss Lilah Bennett is accepted to the prestigious," he paused, "Academy of Magic and Wizardry, Hogwarts." She smacked his arm, laughing. "Elliot," he grinned. Okay. Let's try again." He reset his voice, more serious now. "Miss Lilah Bennett has been awarded a full academic scholarship to Columbia University's School of Architecture." Her mouth dropped. Tears welled. She didn't think. She just jumped into his arms. He caught her with a grunt, both of them laughing as she wrapped her legs around his waist. "I got in," she shouted, "with a scholarship." "You did," he said into her shoulder. "You really did." They stood there for a long moment, her heart racing, his arms tight around her. When she finally slid back down to the ground, he said, "We need to celebrate. Like, properly." That night he took her to a quiet restaurant downtown. Candles flickered on the table, and soft music played above them. She wore a navy blue dress with her hair pulled back, and he looked stunned. "You look like a future architect," he said. "You look like a guy who reads poetry in coffee shops," she replied, smirking. They ordered dessert first because rules didn't apply anymore, not tonight. As they shared molten cake and too much whipped cream, she leaned forward. "Did any of your letters come?" He nodded. "Yeah, they're all locked away in my drawer." "None from Hogwarts?" she teased. "Tragic." He shrugged. "I'm probably a Hufflepuff anyway." "No way," she said. "You're definitely Ravenclaw. You're too smart to be anywhere else." "What about you?" he asked. "Gryffindor. I kept chasing you down, didn't I?" He blinked. That hit a little deeper than she meant. "You really did," he said softly. "That was a lot of bravery." She sipped her soda. "It was. I risked my entire social reputation." "Totally. Worth it," he said, grinning. "You think?" "I mean, I got free tutoring, hot girl attention, and a new wardrobe. And emotional development," she added. "Don't forget that part." He chuckled. "The best part?" She stirred the ice in her glass. I've been thinking, maybe architecture's right for me. He looked up. Yeah? She nodded. It's like taking something raw and unfinished and turning it into something permanent, something beautiful. He smiled slowly. That's exactly what you do. She tilted her head. With buildings? With people, he said quietly. Especially this one. She went quiet, her heart skipping. When the waiter brought the check, Elliot reached for it. Wait, she said. Shouldn't we split? No way, this is your night. She smiled. You're making it hard not to fall for you. He froze slightly, then smiled too. Good. As they walked out, the night wrapped around them like a soft blanket. Streetlights flickered. He walked on the outside of the sidewalk again. She noticed. She always noticed now. In front of her door, she turned to face him. So, she said, the dance. He stuffed his hands in his pockets. I was wondering if you'd go with me. Fake go or real go? She asked, eyes sparkling. I don't think we've faked anything for weeks, he said. So, real. She nodded. Then yes, I'll go to the dance with you, Elliot Gray. He exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for hours. They didn't kiss that night. Instead, he pulled her into a long, quiet hug. The kind that made time stop. The kind that said, we're really doing this. She rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat. His arms were warm around her. The stars blinked faintly above them. The whole world was slowing down just for them. Inside her room, she sat on her bed, staring at the Columbia letter. Her fingers brushed over her name. She had dreamed of this for years, but the part that thrilled her most now wasn't just the school or the city. It was the fact that when she opened the letter, he had been there. That mattered more than she could explain. He made everything feel like it was only just beginning. The morning of the dance arrived, bathed in golden light. Elliot and Lilah sat shoulder to shoulder on the porch, legs tucked under them, sharing a worn paperback in the silence between their laughs. A gentle breeze rustled the trees, the world holding its breath. Then the hum of tires against gravel interrupted the moment. A sleek white Range Rover Velar, polished to mirror perfection, pulled up at the curb. 4 girls stepped out, matching hair flips, oversized sunglasses, designer totes in hand. Lilah sat up. What is happening? Elliot blinked. Are those the Avengers? The girls marched up the porch stairs like they owned the place. Madsen led the pack, removing her shades with a dramatic flair. We're here for the frog, she declared. Time to turn him into a king. Elliot looked genuinely concerned. Is this a kidnapping? Madsen smiled. Sort of. Come, you too, Lilah. Before they could object, the whirlwind descended. Where's your sister's room? Madsen asked. Lilah pointed, too stunned to argue. Perfect, she said. Lilah, you're with Amber and Jules, Operation King and Queen of the Dance commencing now. They split them up. Lilah disappeared into the guest room in a flurry of zippers and makeup palettes. Elliot was dragged to his bedroom, already praying his eyebrows would survive. Madsen surveyed his hanging tux. Slim fit, black satin lapels. Timeless. Lilah's got taste, she said. You were going to wear this with that hair? She shook her head. Elliot raised a brow. What's wrong with my hair? Absolutely everything, she said, opening a mysterious pouch like a magician. Time to fix that. Scissors. Snipped. Gel spread. A blow-dryer roared. When the mirror cleared, Elliot barely recognized himself. His dark curls had been trimmed just enough to sculpt around his jawline, now slicked back in a classic, effortless style. His skin looked clearer, more defined. Madsen tilted her head. Okay, so you're actually hot. He blinked. Is this a moment? Shh, she said. Don't ruin it. He grinned. Maybe it was the headphones. Blocked your imagination. Still a smart mouth, she said. Kinda charming, actually. When they were done, Elliot looked like he'd walked out of a movie. Crisp black tux, charcoal gray vest, silver cufflinks catching the light. You're not allowed downstairs until Lila's ready, Madsen warned, finger wagging. She turned to his little sister. You're the gatekeeper, let no man pass. Got it, she saluted. You shall not pass. Nerds, Madsen muttered fondly. Then the girls vanished in a final whirlwind of giggles. Late afternoon glowed through the windows. Elliot stood in the living room, shifting his weight in polished black shoes. His jacket fit like it had been tailored for royalty. His parents looked him up and down with pride, and maybe a little disbelief. Wow, his mom said, when did this happen? Somewhere between calculus and chaos, he replied. Then, footsteps. His sister raced down the stairs with her. Phone out. She's coming! Everyone act normal! Elliot froze. The door creaked open. And there she was. Lila stood in the doorway in a floor-length, deep emerald dress that hugged her like it had been sewn onto her soul. Her hair was swept to one side in soft waves. Her lips painted a muted rose. The dress shimmered faintly as she stepped forward. Her heels clicked on the hardwood as she approached. Elliot forgot how to breathe. Wow. You too, she said softly. You clean up okay. Okay, he said, stunned. I look like a British secret agent and a K-drama star had a baby. Exactly, she smiled. And I look like your queen. He nodded, still stunned. You really do. Photos were taken. Too many. Poses, candids, one where they both laughed mid-frame. His mom whispered that she hadn't seen Elliot smile, like that since he was a kid. His dad cleared his throat, then reached into his pocket and held out the car keys. Take the Mustang, he said. Drive your queen in style. Elliot blinked. Seriously? Seriously, his father nodded. Just don't crash it. They left to the sound of camera shutters and cheers from his little sister. The car gleamed beneath the setting sun, and he opened the door for Lila like it was the most natural thing in the world. Inside, soft jazz played. She adjusted the rearview mirror to glance at him. So, ready to shock the school? He grinned. Let's cause a little emotional damage. They pulled up to the venue, twinkling lights, red carpet, golden archway overhead. People turned as the car slowed. Then Elliot stepped out, walked around, and opened her door. The crowd paused. Gasps, whispers, murmurs. Who was that guy? And how had Lila Bennett managed to glow even brighter than usual? Told you, she whispered to him. We were going to cause damage. Consider me emotionally unstable, he replied. Inside the ballroom, chandeliers sparkled like stars. Music pulsed, people twirled, and all eyes followed them. They were magnetic. Not because they were the hottest, not because they were the loudest, but because something about them felt real. She rested her hand on his chest as they slow danced. You nervous? She asked. Only every second I'm not touching you, he replied. She smiled, forehead brushing against his. You're really not the same boy I met. I am, he said softly. You just finally looked close enough. She laughed, but her eyes shimmered. Thank you for making me feel chosen. He shook his head. You chose me first. In that moment, the music faded into the background. All that existed was her heartbeat against his palm. And when they were announced, king and queen of the dance, it wasn't just about the votes or the popularity. It was the story they carried, the frog and the firework, the bookworm and the beauty. When the crown was placed on her head and the sash draped across his shoulders, Elliot whispered, "You sure this isn't still fake?" Lilah smiled. "If it is, I hope I never wake up." Later that night, long after the music had faded and the crowd dispersed, Elliot drove them out of the city lights and into the quiet calm of the countryside. The sky stretched open above them, a velvet canopy dotted with stars. He pulled over, near a meadow he liked, one he never told anyone about, but tonight it belonged to her. They stepped out of the car in silence. The air was soft and warm, the moon full and watching. Lilah wrapped her arms around herself, staring up. "This second semester, it changed everything," she said quietly. "I wish I had grown up sooner, woken up sooner. I spent so long trying to belong to a life that never really wanted me." Her voice wavered. "I never wanted to be just a pretty girl who'd get proposed to one day because of how she looked on the outside." She turned to him. "You saw me on the inside, Elliot, before I even saw myself." He took a step forward, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I did," he said. "But let the record show. You're still the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life." She rolled her eyes through a smile, and he caught her hand, pulling her close. With no music playing, he still swayed. She followed. "I know this. Sounds ridiculous," he said softly. "Since you're my first real girlfriend, but I don't want there to be anyone after you." Her breath hitched. He went on, voice sincere. "I got accepted to all the schools I applied to. One of them is just a few hours from yours, a good drive away. Just a Friday night and I'd be with my queen." She blinked up at him, caught in his words. "My parents? They met in college. First boyfriend. First love. Married 30 years now." His hand held hers tighter. "I've always wanted something like that. Not flashy, just real. Someone I build a life with from the beginning." He paused. "Would you try that life with me?" Lilah's eyes shimmered. "Anything I do with you works," she whispered. "Everything. Feels right when I'm beside you. I've never been so happy to be part of someone's plan, especially one this beautiful." He pulled her closer, pressing his forehead to hers. The stars above felt like they were holding their breath. Their kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't performative. It was real, deep, a promise, sealed beneath a summer moon in a meadow only he knew. A moment that didn't need captions or cameras or a crowd, just them, and the future stretching silently ahead. They graduated with honors, hand in hand. Photos were taken, tassels flipped, dreams pocketed like keepsakes. Elliot's speech made people laugh and cry, especially when he thanked a girl who asked him for tutoring and accidentally tutored his heart. College came quickly. They stayed in different dorms, different schools, but weekends became sacred. Midnight drives, early morning coffees, study sessions that turned into life-planning dates. And eventually, they moved in together. Small apartment, shared dishes, shared lives, careers blossomed. Challenges came, but so did victories. And one day Elliot knelt in the very field where they had danced under the stars, holding out a ring, asking if she still wanted to try forever with him. She said yes before he could finish the question. They married, built a family, designed a life that wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. Rooted in something real, stronger than popularity, deeper than a checklist. And it all started with a girl who needed math tutoring, and a boy who wanted to learn how to talk to girls. In the end, he only learned how to talk to her. And that was better than anything he ever imagined.